A May 2024 federal trial date has been set for the 5 former Memphis cops accused of the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols. Attorneys for Tadarrius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmitt Martin, Desmond Mills, and Justin Smith agreed on the May 6 trial date. The trial is expected to take 8 or 9 days for all 5 officers. The former MPD officers were indicted by a federal grand jury last week, charging them with depriving Tyre Nichols of his rights following a traffic stop that led to his death. Nichols died 3 days after being punched, kicked, and hit with a baton by the officers during a traffic stop. These officers face state charges, including second-degree murder as well. They pleaded not guilty. Matt, this is, I mean, this is absolutely crazy, and I've said repeatedly how the Department of Justice has been very aggressive in going after wardens and jailers and the kind of stuff with these correction officers. And, you know, people act as if, man, this is no big deal. These are people, these are just folks who are in jail. No, this is serious. This is major. And there should be a massive crackdown on these thug jailers.
Yeah, you know, this is particularly timely today because today I had a conversation with an expert that I hired in an excessive force case, a former chief of police. And he told me, you know, the reason this stuff happens is because these people never get punished, and the people on the department recognize they're not going to get punished, and they recognize there is no real price to pay for doing this. This kind of thing happens all the time. This is probably 40% of my practice, Roland, is filing lawsuits like this. And just like your prior guest talked about with the Fifth Circuit, every time I file one, no matter how bad it is, I have to bake into my strategy the reality that the Fifth Circuit is likely going to rule against my client no matter how bad what happened to him or her was. I tell you
that's because the Fifth Circuit is an absolutely hardcore right-wing MAGA court.
It's incredibly conservative. And that's why on this show, every week I'm on, I mention the gulf between what we talk about with the Constitution and the reality of vindicating your constitutional rights if something like this happens. So I said that to say the reason we really need the Department of Justice is because when they prosecute these offenses, they prosecute them from a criminal standpoint, right? Which gives them a different latitude than I have with a civil case, because the civil law does not give me the same latitude, essentially, and it's not as easy to prove the cases, because when you have the power of a grand jury subpoena and law enforcement and other things, it has a different gravitas. So I say all of that to say you should be shocked by this. This is abhorrent. Anybody with eyes can see that. But what we should also be shocked by is how difficult it is for the families in these circumstances to actually hold somebody accountable. And I'm hoping that the Department of Justice continues to do the good work it's done, because every time they get involved and they prosecute somebody, that family has a true assurance that something's actually going to happen. Whereas every time I file a lawsuit, no matter how crafty I am with how I bring it, I have to tell my clients this is going to be an uphill battle. And that's because it is so hard to hold people accountable in these circumstances.
It is mind-numbing, Michael, when we look at these cases, and you look at Fulton County Jail, the number of people who died there. Remember when that nut case in Milwaukee was a sheriff, and how many people had died there, died in those jails as well. And again, these are still human beings. These are human beings who are dying in jail, viciously beaten. Then you look at the conditions. A lot of these places, no AC, no air conditioning, so they're freezing. No heat. They're freezing to death, or they're profusely sweating. I mean, sewage and flooding, and I mean, like we've covered this, just Mississippi and Alabama, all over. But this is an epidemic in this country.
Yeah, it really is, Roland. And you know, when you deal with county jails, you'll have people who may be serving less than a year, they may be serving a sentence, but then you may also have people who are awaiting trial as well. So they haven't been found guilty yet. But regardless of whether they've been found guilty or haven't had a trial, that jail is still responsible for their well-being, okay? And this deals with just a basic humanity issue, respecting people's humanity. And a lot of these conditions are unlivable. And if it was a situation where we were awaiting trial, or even if we were convicted of something, we wouldn't want to live in those conditions, and we would not want one of our loved ones to live in those conditions either. So, this has to change. This deals with who you have in political offices, deals with legislation also. But yeah, this is totally unacceptable.
Kelly.
Every time I hear one of these stories, it breaks my heart because, like the panel has already said, they're human beings. And the point of any type of prison or jail system is supposedly supposed to be about it being rehabilitative. How do you rehab someone in a condition like that? You don't. Animals are treated better than some of these prisoners. I remember the story of, I can't remember which jurisdiction it was, but the young man who I think it was Atlanta, died with bed bugs, like the bed bug infestation.
Yep, that's Fulton County Jail.
Yeah, that was just absolutely disgusting to me. I mean, I can't think of even terrorists who have conditions like that for prisoners of war. And we're talking about American citizens in America who are supposedly supposed to be being rehabbed to get back into society. How do you do that when you have conditions like this? So absolutely something needs to change. Something needs to give, because this is absolutely an injustice system with things the way they are as it stands.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.